Hello and welcome to another episode of the IDEAfit Pro Show. We're so glad you're here. Today's guest brings incredible insight and passion to our industry, and we can't wait for you to hear her story. Joining me today is Whitney Houlin. Welcome, Whitney.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
So excited to introduce you to our audience today and to get to know you better. So welcome, and let's dig right in. I want to give the audience a little bit of your history, and then I'll let you tell your story as well. But first, I want to let the audience know that you are the Director of Fitness for WeGym, and you have over a decade of experience in the fitness and wellness industry. You are a certified personal trainer, group fitness instructor, and kettlebell coach, and hold over 10 format certifications from Pilates and bar to trampoline fitness, which I think a lot of our listeners can relate to. While managing the WeGym Studio app, you are curating on-demand workouts that bring studio energy to any space. And in addition to that role, as if that weren't enough, you also run a successful fitness-based Instagram account where you're sharing expert tips, motivating workouts, and an approachable take on movement. Goodness, you're busy. Goodness.
I just can't sit still for longer than a few minutes.
I love it. And as I was researching for our episode, I did go through your Instagram, and you are putting out some really fantastic content. So hats off to you for that. I know our audience gets so excited to see successful online businesses. And so I want to talk about that a little bit, and also your partnership with WeGym. But go ahead and tell us your background, your history. What brought you to this point over the last 10 years?
Yeah, sure. So I never saw myself in this space. Actually, I went to school to be a teacher, an elementary school teacher, actually. And it wasn't until just over a decade ago, I had been going to the gym. I had my favorite group fitness classes that I would go to. I think we can all identify with that. And that was like really my outlet. I had two little kids at the time, and I lived and died for that class every week. I would not miss it. And eventually I just realized like I might be able to do what she's doing. Maybe, I don't know, maybe. And that was at the point where in order to get certified, like way before virtual certifications existed, like you either had to travel somewhere or wait till it happened to come through your area to get certified. And so I had heard that it was coming through my area, and I thought, well, it's now or never. So I did my first format certification. It was in Pio, like Beachbody back in the day. And that was huge. And I thought like, okay, I'm just going to teach my one class a week. I'll be good with that. I don't need to be one of those crazy people that like teaches every single day, like I'll be good with this. And so I continued to teach elementary school. I was doing fitness just on the side. And then little did I know, it would just wake up this passion inside that I just continue to get more format certifications, continue to expand my own education, and really just came to love the teaching aspect of fitness specifically, and really educating around fitness. And then, yeah, I was doing it on the side, really just juggling my other career with early mornings and evening classes. And then just over a year ago, moved away from teaching and have been full-time fitness since. So it has been such a fun and unexpected wild ride.
Oh my goodness. I want to dig into that a little bit, because one of the things I teach Fit Pros is exactly what you said. Like, until you can make it your main thing, you kind of have to work around the fringe hours of the main thing. So you've got your
Mhm.
passion out there looming, and you just can't wait to go teach that class once or twice a week. So what was the point where you finally took that leap of faith and jumped from, your full-time hustle to your making fitness your full-time?
Yeah, it's kind of a multifaceted thing. So along the way, the last several years, I'd started this Instagram account and wasn't really expecting much out of that. It was just kind of a passion project for me to just share ideas and resources for people who wanted good workout ideas. I like to say I'm like the anti-influencer. Like I don't buy into a lot of the language that we see out there with like fitfluencers, where it's like, let's snatch our waist for the summer and here's 10 bat wing exercises. Like I just don't subscribe to that. And so I try to really do the opposite of that and help people feel empowered in their fitness journey and give them real tangible things that they can take with them and do and apply. So the last 3 years that really started picking up, and that's kind of where WeGym actually enters in. So a little over a year ago, probably like a year and a half, they reached out to me just to collaborate on Instagram. And they were like, hey, we would love to send you some of our equipment. They had dumbbells, some kettlebells, some mats. And I was like, yeah, cool. I want equipment at my house. Absolutely. And so we started a small partnership, like I'd kind of done with, several different brands. When you're doing the Instagram thing, like it's a pretty common thing to collaborate with a brand. And sometimes it turns into a longer partnership and sometimes it doesn't. It's just kind of how it goes. And a few months after working with them, they said, well, hey, we're actually going to be recording some workouts. We're starting this app. Do you want to come out to Connecticut and film some workouts? And I had never once actually talked to them. It was all just over email communication. And then they were asking me to like fly out there to go record workouts. And so I was like, okay, like, and I'm telling my mom this, and she's like, do you even know if they're real people? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm not getting scammed. So I went to Connecticut, ended up filming some workouts there. I was only there for, I think, 4 days, and I left with a job offer. So it wasn't something that they were expecting to do. Obviously, wasn't what I was expecting to do. But they were looking for somebody to really take on that whole project and kind of lead the way, and provide that professional set of eyes in all of their products and all of that. And I think it was just right place, right time. I was hustling so hard with my Instagram because I wanted to move away from teaching. And I didn't know at the time how all of that was going to happen. I just knew I had to take every opportunity that came to me, in order to make that happen. And then it did. So it really was so unexpected, but massive. So kind of a combination of those two things, really working on showing up for my Instagram community, growing that base and that following, and that allowed that next partnership to happen, which is now my full-time job. But
Yes.
yeah, otherwise it's those early mornings, those late night classes, and trying to manage that with a career that is completely different, like not even taking into account like your family and kids in the picture. Like it is a hustle for sure.
It is. Oh, but I love that story. Like, again, you were following your passion and you were doing the thing that lit you up. And you went and you obviously killed it because they saw a lot of potential in you and really saw you as the face of their brand. And so I absolutely love this story. But I do want to talk more about WeGym and their equipment because it's beautiful, first of all. But I want to talk more about that, and them coming to Idea World this year. But before we do that, I really want to learn more about you and your personal mission, really what's driving you as a leader now for WeGym and in this space, and also as a content creator, because it's obvious even before WeGym, you were putting out amazing content. So one concept that you share that really resonates is the idea of setting minimums. Maybe you could explain what that means to help people build consistency and how Fit Pros might learn from that.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing that we hear a lot, when we're working with clients, is just how to make fitness more of a habit and routine, where it feels second nature. Obviously, to people in the industry, it is, I mean, it's just like brushing your teeth, like you're gonna make that happen. But for people where they're really trying to implement those habits into their life, it doesn't always feel so natural. And it's a harder thing to establish at times. So I was just recently with a group of women, and we had this conversation. And for some of them, it was really a light bulb moment that went off for them, to help them kind of see fitness in a way that actually is approachable and attainable and accessible, and how they can build it in. So it's this idea of establishing minimums. So when we think about like habits in our everyday life, we do this and we don't even realize it. We have a minimum of our standards for ourselves, right? I know at minimum, I am going to shower every day, most days. At minimum, I'm going to, brush my teeth 2 times a day. At minimum, I'm going to drink, my hydro jug full of water. Like I'm going to get at least 1, 2 of those, obviously great. We do this all the time. We might have a minimum around like, okay, I know I need to eat vegetables. So like, I'm going to make sure I get one with like lunch, one with dinner. So applying the same idea to fitness can really help empower them to establish that habit. So when you're looking at, okay, I know I want to implement this new fitness routine, whatever their goals are, especially for people who are newer, where it's not so established, saying, all right, just like you have those minimums of yourself every day, every week, we're going to do the same thing with fitness. So as I look at my week, what tends to happen with our clients is they say like, I want to get fit. And then they're like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week and for an hour each time. And, they're going to do all the things all at once. And then a few weeks from then, they fall off the wagon and they're kind of back at square one. And then they think, oh, now I got to do that all again. And then they go full steam ahead. It's not super sustainable, especially for newer clients who are starting to implement these habits. So what I like to do with them is, okay, we're not going to do 5 days a week. Like we're going to establish our minimums. That is our like bare minimum requirement to take care of ourselves, to establish this habit. So I'll often sit with them. We'll look at their work schedule, their life routine, and say, okay, your minimum is going to be getting to the gym or coming to this class twice a week. And if we hit that minimum, like you are hitting your goal. Everything beyond that is going to be bonus. And eventually, as they establish that routine, we can adjust that minimum as that goes up. But that way, if they have a crazy week, they can say, okay, I have a bonkers week this week. I have to be at this appointment and this meeting and running my kids all these places. I can say, okay, but I only have to work out twice. I don't have to look at it and go, holy crap, I got to get 5 days at the gym this week. I only have to work out twice. So I can plug it in here and I can plug it in here. And then I've met my goal for the week. If I happen to find time beyond that, fabulous. Maybe it's not 2 times a week. Maybe it's 3 times a week. But then I like to break it down with them even further and say, okay, well, what's that going to look like? What is when you do your 2 workouts a week, let's plan out what that's going to be. One of these women that I was talking with, she has a 9 to 5 desk job. After that, she's taking care of her kids. And she was like, I don't know that I can make it to the gym even twice a week. Like that minimum wasn't even realistic for her. So since she has a desk job, we talked about what she can actually do to set minimums during her workday. So she's on several Zoom meetings a day. So we talked about her home setup with her Zoom meetings. Okay, well, maybe your minimum, can you get a walk pad? Couple $100 on Amazon. She was like, yeah, I could do that. And I was like, okay, cool. So your minimum is going to be every day during one Zoom meeting, you're going to walk during that Zoom meeting. And that way you're still getting in activity. You're still getting in movement. She loved taking walks outside, but was finding it harder and harder to squeeze in leaving for an hour, especially in the evenings. And that was like almost like it was a light bulb moment for her. Like, oh, like I can just multitask and do that now. A lot of jobs actually are even like taking on those costs for their employees, like to do those home setups just to be more active at home as part of their, specific wellness programs. So we talked about that would be her minimum. So every day for one Zoom meeting, if she wanted to do more than that, maybe 2 Zoom meetings that day, just walking on the walk pad during the meeting, great. But her minimum was 1. And suddenly that made the idea of just activity and movement so much more attainable to her, because instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm here and I have to get here, instead it's saying like, let's meet you where you are and establish some habits and routines for where you are to help get you to where you're going. So that's kind of the whole idea of that, establishing minimums.
Yeah, I love that. It's a really simplistic way of helping clients to take that first step, but commit to the first step that, may have seemed daunting to think about a whole program, but you start them with simple steps. It's a lot of what I learned when I did my health coach certification, and we talked about behavior modification and really getting clients to understand, just that minimum behavior is going to lead to other healthy behaviors in your life. And so if they can accomplish and build the confidence to get those two workouts at a minimum, then just think it'll start to create a ripple effect for other choices that they're making. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that. And
Yeah. It's so valuable, I think, to sit down and kind of have that conversation with a fitness professional who can help to see those things through those expert eyes. So I think especially as, as personal trainers, or even as if you're a group fitness instructor and people are saying like, oh, I wish I could come, to your class this day, like just having that awareness to lead those conversations with people and to start getting them to think in that way is so valuable.
I love it. When you're leading workouts for the WeGym on demand app, do you get a chance to do coaching outside of the workout on the app? I'm not familiar with their structure, but do you get a chance to work with clients more personally?
Not yet. So the app just launched in January. So right now we have on-demand classes, but we're looking at building that out quite a bit over the next few years. We have some really fun things planned for the app specifically. But part of that will be a community aspect. So where people can really come, relate to each other, learn, grow from each other, and really just find that encouragement. So stay tuned, it's
Yes,
coming.
I love that. I love it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about WeGym and what they offer. And I'm so excited because we get to introduce them to the entire fitness industry at Idea World this summer. They are a bronze level sponsor, so they are going to be. Some of the equipment will be in our classrooms for people to demo and use. You'll have it, of course, everything in the booth. But tell our audience more about WeGym. What are some of their products and why do you love it?
Yeah. So WeGym has only been around for a couple of years, actually. And um, it has really taken off in a way that has surprised all of us on the team. But it's been really exciting. So we produce fitness equipment, dumbbells, we have soft kettlebells, fitness benches, mats, blocks, bands, balls. This summer, which a huge reason why we'll be at IDEA, we're launching our Pro Series, which will be dumbbells that are designed more for commercial gym environments. Right now, we've been kind of focused in the home fitness space, but really products that are designed for that commercial look and usage, really. What really sets them apart, you mentioned the aesthetic. That's a huge part of what we believe in. Most dumbbells are very standard look, but they're not really pretty to look at. They're kind of an eyesore,
Uh,
which, can work in commercial spaces, but especially if your home is used for multi-purpose type of things, we really wanted something that would really just level up while still being able to function. So that's why you see everything in the color palette that you do. We also like to keep in mind the space saving element. So like our dumbbell rack only takes up 1 square foot of space. And then especially some of the unique designs. So what we like to do when we're developing any new product is not reinvent the wheel, just take it and make it a little bit better. So like with the dumbbells, for example, having the square sides to really maximize stability in like a renegade row or even a heel elevated goblet squat, things like that, to provide the most stability just by changing the shape of the dumbbell or the kettlebell that we have there filled. with iron sand and then slightly inflated to, especially if they're using them in a home space, you don't have to worry about floor damage or rusting out because it's this big iron ball, or even just getting into it. Sometimes kettlebells specifically can feel a little bit intimidating, and it just kind of like takes that intimidation down because it's a softer thing, to give you some wiggle room to learn the correct form while you're practicing. So that is a little bit about WeGym. We obviously have the app that we just launched as well. And then, yeah, we're showcasing our new Pro Series line at the IDEA conference this summer. It'll be our like official debut
Yeah.
at
I
IDEA
love
World.
it.
So,
I love it.
yeah.
Well, so first of all, the URL, the website is WeGymFit.com. So if you're
Yes.
listening, look it up. I used to train clients in home and they would ask me to purchase the equipment to build out their home studios. I would have loved something like this, especially for, my clients, like you said, where the gym is an extension of people's homes now. And it doesn't need
Mhm.
to look rugged or dark or commercial. It really can be beautiful aesthetic. And that's exactly what WeGym offers. And then I think to the days when I was building clubs within clubs. And I was
Mhm.
building little studios inside converted racquetball courts in large club chains. This would have been so perfect to maximize space and really give a unique feel and studio feel to those large gyms that I was working at. And then, of course, we have a lot of members who own their own at home fitness studios, boutiques. This equipment would all be brilliant for space maximization, efficiency,
Mhm.
and also the aesthetic look. So I love it.
Yeah, and we have it's not on the site, any of our new Pro Series line that's coming out, but especially for commercial spaces, the racks that we have designed, well, they're so beautiful. They're so beautiful. So we're super excited to be showcasing those this
I
summer as
love it.
well.
I love it. Good. Okay, so let's talk about your sessions at World because you're a first time presenter, not a first time attendee, but a first time presenter for Idea World. And we are thrilled to have you on the program this year. So I know, first of all, you'll be using the WeGym equipment in your
Mhm.
workouts and workshops. Or are you doing
Of
both
course.
workshops? Let me just make sure I got that right.
Workout and workshops. Yeah,
That's right.
both.
Okay. So tell the audience about your sessions at World and what they can expect to learn.
Yeah. So, as you said in my bio, I'm a little bit all over the place. So, that is represented in my sessions, a little bit of everything. So, one of the workouts that we'll be doing is hip hop bar. So, bar was like the second thing that I got certified in 10 years ago. And I did dance growing up, and it like just totally scratched that itch for me. So I absolutely love it. But I also love working out to great music. And I think that's such a vital element of group fitness classes, especially. And I think sometimes, especially in bar, we think it's like this perfectly poised, put together experience. And that's not the bar I identify with. So we'll be doing classic bar sequences, but it's choreographed and set to hip hop music. So it is a really fun time. I mean, doing plies to, Snoop Dogg and Lizzo, like it really doesn't get any better than that. So it'll be a really fun bar class. And then there are a couple of workshops because, as I mentioned, I love that education piece. I know when I've gone to fitness conferences, I want to walk away with like so many ideas I can implement that my brain is just like exploding, right? Like I can't wait to get back and start using them. So that's really my goal with the workshops. One of them will be maximizing minimal equipment. I have been in those settings where you have to give somebody an entire workout and all you have is a band or a fitness ball, a Pilates style ball. And so over the years, I have just put together this huge library of ideas of where you can give somebody an effective workout with just that one singular piece of equipment. So that workshop will be very hands-on, just tons and tons of ideas that we'll be going through, talking about how you can progress something, regress something with the equipment to really get the most out of that. Um, So hoping to just give tons and tons of ideas there. And then the last one will be for kettlebells. So kind of like a kettlebell 101. I actually, the kettlebell coach certification is my most recent certification. And it kind of reignited my passion and love for kettlebells because if you've done group fitness or even a personal training certification, kettlebells were never like specifically focused on. They're kind of this like niche piece of equipment, right? Like either you learned how to use it from other people who knew, like, or you didn't and you're like not super sure. Obviously, there's a lot of ways you can use kettlebells that are universally applicable, like if you're just going to hold it in place of a dumbbell. But some of these more powerful kettlebell moves, basically, what I want to do is empower group fitness instructors or personal trainers and how they can really break down those kettlebell moves from somebody who has never used a kettlebell to being able to work up. So, and do some of those more explosive moves like a kettlebell swing, like a clean, and really breaking down that process. I know at my gym, we have like a circuit style class, and there are kettlebells that they will program into it. But not everybody walks in knowing how to do a kettlebell swing, and they're trying and it's not working. And
Mhm.
so really being able to, even for a group space, say like, hey, actually, like let's obviously we wouldn't use the word regression with a client, but hey, let's swap this out real quick instead. Or even like being able to just look for the most important form cues when it comes to kettlebells to really just arm trainers and group fitness instructors with just more to their tool belt, to train their coaching eye specifically when it comes to being able to implement kettlebells because they're so fun and they feel so powerful. It's so empowering to be able to move this big heavy weight around like it's nothing. um, so that's kind of the goal with the kettlebell workshop.
I love it. And I know that the program is open now. So when people sign up for Idea World, once you register, you've got to go in and pick your sessions right away. Whitney's classes, again, are some of the ones we expect to completely fill up, and there will be no space available. So you want to make sure to get in and get in early, sign up for those classes, and you'll get a chance to use the new WeGym equipment in the class. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
Um, Good. So how did you first learn about IDEA? I'm just curious, what is your IDEA story?
So it's actually through another presenter of yours, Siri, Shiwazi, who is fantastic. And she and I just met through the Instagram fitness space. Um, that's kind of how we came in contact. I know we have met previously at other fitness conferences. She actually now is one of our WeGym app trainers as well. So I knew I had to poach her because she's so fabulous. So she was kind of my introduction to idea, and we were like, that is the place that we want to be around other fitness professionals in the industry, just learning and growing together, that we're all super passionate about that on the team. So it was a no-brainer.
I love it. Yes, for those of you who don't know, Siri was our trailblazer of the year, I think 2022. It was, I believe. So anyway, she is wonderful. And I remember her calling me up and saying, you got to get this company and Whitney into Idea World. So that was fantastic. So look at us. It all worked out. Amazing.
Yes.
So, one other question I have about your approach to fitness, you talk a lot about this healthy mindset, about really helping people have a healthy mindset. And I know we talked about simplifying daunting goals or programs and stuff. But what does that mean to you? And maybe how do you use that in your own life with your busy schedule and your big job now and your family?
Yeah. So I have a really deep personal connection to this. And this is something that the whole reason why I share the way that I do on Instagram, is because of that personal connection. So I didn't grow up with the healthiest relationship with exercise, and how I was supposed to feel about it. It was always kind of like a punishment. Um, that, I would put myself through because I wanted to look a certain way. And I got so far down that road and realized like, well, that's not productive at all because now I just hate everything like related to that. And it was really just toxic and negative. And so I knew that especially as my own fitness career started to grow, that especially when people came to my classes or clients come to me, that I want to foster the opposite of that in them. I really want to help them feel empowered with what they can do and what they can learn. And to really have that perspective of it's only ever you versus you in your fitness journey, and how valuable that can be,
Yeah.
especially as we reflect. Such a huge part of the growing process is reflecting on our own um, progress and our own journey. So I really try to implement that in my own, in what I share in my fitness classes, especially what I put out on Instagram. And it just so perfectly aligns with all of the WeGym mission statement and beliefs as well. So that was just like the happiest partnership. Um, just because we have agreed, like, there's so much that fitness gives us outside of just any aesthetic that we want to focus on all of that, all of the benefits of the wellness that it can bring to us. I feel like when we focus on an aesthetic of fitness that, and outside of like, specific, like people will do, bodybuilding shows. Obviously, that's more of like a sport. But outside of that, there's just so much more to it. So kind of cheapening it down to just an aesthetic, it just doesn't really lend itself to what I believe as a fitness professional, um, really lends itself to overall wellness and healthy habits. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my approach on that. And then as far as implementing that, I think especially being in the fitness industry, it can be really challenging at times to not fall into that mindset as you're constantly surrounded by other fitness professionals. And I mean, I'm not perfect at that. Like sometimes I do have like those days or those moments where I go like, dang, like I wish I was like that person, you know? And I don't think any of us are immune to thinking that way. And so when I find myself in those moments, I really have to go back to kind of practicing what I preach and really stepping back. Because especially being in the industry, it's just so easy sometimes to get caught up in that comparison game, whether it's on Instagram and other Instagram creators, or whether it's at the gym with other instructors. And it might even be as simple as in a group fitness setting, there's like those prime time classes. And sometimes like you have to work for years to get to those prime time classes. And even that can sometimes be a source of like, dang, like I wish I had that spot, or I wish my class was as big as hers is growing. Like really just having to say like, okay, where did I start? And am I accomplishing the goals that I want to accomplish for me? Taking everybody else out of the picture. But I think, yeah, it's an easy trap to fall into when you're constantly in the industry.
Yeah. And I think in life in general, like it's a comparison game, right? But just to remind yourself that I love what you said, it's you versus you. And it's
Mhm.
all about really the gifts that we gain from movement is
Mhm.
so much more broad than just the physical benefits, right? Or the
Mhm.
externally visible
Right.
physical benefits. And so that's a lot of what IDEA has been teaching for years and years is how to help instructors to cue with healthy language that helps people have positive outcomes and understand that movement and wellness are a holistic approach, and we're not just doing it for the physical external and physical looking benefits. But
Mhm.
anyway, you
Mhm.
articulated it better than I did, so thank you. Okay, so I want to just kind of roll into the close of the show. Of course, again, Whitney will be presenting at Idea World. WeGym is one of our premier sponsors at Idea World. So we're so excited to have you there and to see you. And I was just hoping that in closing, you could tell listeners how to follow you and how to go check out all of your amazing content on Instagram. But then also, do you have any piece of advice that you want every fitness professional to walk away with today?
Oh, wow. Okay. First of all, where to find me on Instagram? I am getfit_wit. And then that really just correlates with the WeGym Instagram. Totally like not even planned. But the WeGym Instagram is WeGym_fit. So get fit wit and WeGym fit is where you can find us on Instagram. So yeah, would love to see you guys there. And then a piece of advice to walk away with. We covered so much today. It's hard to think of just one thing. I think the biggest thing is that I really try to implement as well is just to never stop learning. Like the fitness industry is always evolving. There's always new research coming out. You will never know everything that there is to know, and that's okay. But always kind of chasing that new information that's coming out, always being hungry of how you can expand your own repertoire of what you can offer. I mean, you never know what opportunities might be around the corner from you after your next certification, after your next workshop, either through education that you receive or people that you meet. So I would say just never stop learning.
Love that. Love it. It's paramount in our industry, paramount.
Mhm.
Whitney, thank you so much for joining us today. Really, your
Thanks.
passion and your expertise, I know, has been really valuable for our community. So I want to thank you for your time today. And also, we'll see you at Idea World. And to our audience, that's it for today's episode of IDEAfit Pro Show, where fitness is our business.
Wanna hear you go.